think we will let people join the things and then we'll get started. We'll just give a minute and then we'll just get started. Welcome all. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. We will be presenting a webinar today on cost optimization for SaaS companies. As everyone knows, SaaS companies provide a software solution hosted in the cloud, accessible over the internet. I think they have transformed the software industry in recent years and are poised to a promising future. The main reason is customers love it because of the easy to subscribe. They don't need to get into a large capex and they can start anytime with a minimal investment. We see that SaaS companies have a promising future as they continue to evolve, adapt to the changing market dynamics, and offer innovative solutions to the businesses of all sizes. Their ability to provide scalable, accessible, and cost-effective software solutions positions them as a driving force in the software industry. If you look into the SaaS companies, infrastructure plays a very important role. And today, we are going to talk cost optimization for SaaS companies with respect to the infrastructure. Yeah, next slide. So let me welcome Julia from AWS, Atanu from True Coverage, and I will have them to quickly intro.
Hello, my name is Julia. I'm working as AWS account manager for software companies in EMEA. And today we're going to speak a little bit about how AWS support software and SaaS companies with cost optimization tools and approaches.
Hi,
Thank you, Julia.
So my name is Atanu, and I'm the CTO for True Coverage. So we are a software SaaS company working in the insurance marketplace in the US. So we have been a recent customer of FinOps. So I'll talk about the journey and the usage of this particular tool, right, for cost optimization.
Thanks, Julia. Thanks, Atanu. I'm Satish. I lead the FinOps business on the international market. And by now, as you might have known, that FinOps is a completely FinOps solutions. And we come with a unique proposition that we provide customers automated cost savings. And we offer platform as a completely free solution, and we only charge the percentage of their savings. The great part in this today's webinar is we have Julia from AWS, which is going to cover the complete cost optimization, the wafer, the pillars, and how the journey look like. We have the Atanu who will talk about the actual journey as a customer, how he has gone through the stuff. And I will also showcase you about the FinOps platform and how, as a customer, you can leverage that platform for optimization of your cloud infrastructure. I'm handing over to Julia to take you through the presentation.
Great. So let's kick it off. Today, I'll share maybe with you my practical experience as being a primary point of contact for SaaS companies who are running on AWS, of what kind of concerns they have regarding cloud cost management, what kind of fears they have, and how can AWS help them achieve the most cost efficiency on their cloud journey. So we're going to speak a little bit about pillars of cost optimization, what native AWS cost management solution you can leverage right now. And the most important part is about cost optimization mindset. This is a very important topic, which we'll end up with, and then pass over to the FinOps team. So the myths I usually hear from my SaaS customers, like I have little visibility of my cost and organizational structure is so dynamic. How can I ensure my AWS cloud is following the changes or the rapid changes of my business? We are having customers that are growing 50% year per year, and this is really hard to be still on track, rapid track of this business growth and ensure the cost structure is still keeping this most efficient way. Another myth is like, I don't have a tool to predict my cost, so I just have to deal with what it is. And sometimes I get a bit sad with my last invoice bill. So this is, again, we're going to talk about this myth today. What kind of tool we have in AWS to predict your cost. And other teams are very dynamic. So like controlling multiple DevOps teams who are doing multiple projects, control the whole mess of engineering for SaaS companies becomes trouble. And we need to talk today about how to allocate the costs with different business entities, with different project types, and ensure you have all necessary organizational transparency for your business. Another concern is that cloud costs are so complex. How can I understand? How can I still keep my consumption stable? How can I ensure I'm managing my cloud costs in the most efficient way without compromising my business? I need to hire an expensive expert for that. So this is actually not that much true. Let's talk about how good looks like. Good looks like the way that you start your cloud journey. You need to stop paying for what you use and actually move to paying for what you need. By achieving the economies of scale, by achieving the savings of your commitments to AWS, by ensuring your infrastructure is running in the most cost optimized and efficient way, by implementing the best practices of well-architected on AWS and leverage auto-scaling, leverage the latest instance types. And this is how good looks like when your usage is growing, your costs are going on a plain level. Let's see how we can help you achieve this. So there are 5 pillars of cost optimization. And one of them is right-sizing your resources. The second is increase elasticity, pick the right pricing model, and optimize the storage. Those are 4, but what is the fifth? The fifth is ensuring that you are measuring, monitoring, and improving your cost constantly. How can we help you achieve this happening? Let's go a little bit into the details. First, you need to know that AWS have plenty of solutions to help you plan, run, see, save, and optimize your costs. That there are a lot of information that you can leverage from existing AWS materials and resources, even starting from now. Let's talk a little bit of what solutions we have to help you plan the costs. There's a migration evaluator. There's a pricing calculator, AWS budgets. For the run step, you can have the billing console that will help you manage and control your AWS costs, AWS cost anomaly detection, AWS budgets. For track and allocate phase, there is also a solution called Cost Explorer. Cost and usage reports are helping you. And another very important part is optimizing and saving. So there is also a solution to help you achieve the most from your commitment to AWS and by the leverage savings plans and reserved instances that would be matching your expectations from your business. You would now say me, Julia, this is a lot of tools, and I would probably agree with you. Let us talk a little bit about most important ones that I see helping my customers most. The one I'd like to start with would be AWS budgets. This is a tool that can help you set up specific expectations around cloud costs for your projects, applications, and more. So you can set up the customized budgets, set up the cost and usage thresholds per your team, per project, per particular product. So you can set up a different AWS resource tagging and ensure that your AWS infrastructure is not just one huge cloud cost, but this is clearly related to each and every part of your business or product lines or whatever you would like to make it visible for. You can set up also budget notifications and alerting when some particular project or business unit is exceeding or is reaching out the threshold that you've set up. You can set up a notification. So budgets can help you track some anomalies spent in your AWS infrastructure. So you can also track through the budgets how your current commitments, savings plans, and reserved instances are tracked, and understand what organizational units, maybe teams or product lines, are using their budgets efficiently. We will gonna share the slide deck after the presentation, small PDF format where you can download and have the access to the links of how to get started with AWS budgets. And also the chat, I think, is open for the questions. So we'll have a time for Q&A and answer the questions that you might possibly have. Another part is track and allocate. And here is my most important one and my favorite, the Cost Explorer. The Cost Explorer is the solution that you can achieve straight ahead from your AWS console, which can help you dive deep into your cost trends and help it being grouped and filter data by service, by usage type, by instance type, by region that you're leveraging it. So you can have in and out analysis of your current consumption patterns and also set up a forecasting based on your historical pattern. So Cost Explorer gives you great visibility onto your current cost structure, great graphical representing view on how your AWS costs are looking like, and also it can help you with forecasting as well by giving you a precise forecast, quite precise forecast based on your existing usage patterns for how your AWS cost might be looking like in the nearest future. Then again, there would be some resources of how you can get started with AWS Cost Explorer. And but the most, I think, important part is how AWS can help you optimize and save by going into commitments and by reserving capacity for you, which buying savings plans and reserved instances. Let's see what's there on the plate for you. So first, it's very important to understand the concept of reserved instances and savings plans. What is it? Actually, you can treat this type of offering as a discount coupon when you actually gain the better pricing once you decide to go long term. If you see that your current consumption pattern is quite stable and you are happy with this type of reserved instances, you foresee your business running on it for at least 1 year, this is the type to sign up for a 1-year commitment and have a discount up to 75% for your actually, which would be like a benefit for you committing to AWS for a long term. Reserved instances was the initial type of commitment for in AWS, and once I joined 3 years, almost 4 years ago, we've just introduced the savings plans. And what is very important about savings plan, which is still, I see as a quite new type for AWS customers, they might probably not dive deep into what is savings plan. Is for example, in reserved instances, it's just when you decide that you are buying EC2, you are buying specific instance, you can choose between convertible reserved instances, standard reserved instance. A convertible RI allow you to change the instance family, the tenancy, the operation systems, once you decide you need this change. So they are more flexible, but you have less discount for that. When standard RIs, you buy a RI you want, you commit for it for 1 year, but the discount you receive is deeper. So reserved instances is simply it. You reserve instance and have the discount for it. What is then savings plans? With savings plans, this is a beautiful pricing type for dynamic businesses, having a lot of changes within the infrastructure, experimenting a lot. So this all comes to software companies and SaaS businesses. Because with savings plans, you do not actually buy or commit to any particular type of resource. You just commit for usage, which is measured in dollars per hour. And this savings plan covers compute any type of EC2 instance. It includes Lambda, our serverless service as well, Fargate, our serverless containers management service. So it covers way more resources than just reserved instances, and it gives you complete and amazing flexibility of changing these resources on the way. So I'd really love you to explore this opportunity and see what kind of immediate savings you can achieve. But the very important thing I'd like you to remember is that buying reserved instances of savings plan do not require you pay upfront, because this one of the very interesting assumptions I heard from my customers, like, Julia, we're not buying this now because we don't have this amount of money to pay upfront. No, guys, you do not lose the beauty of the cloud, the pay as you go. You can still pay as you go. It's just when you're paying upfront, if you prefer so, the discount that you receive is deeper than going the pay as you go model. You can tell me, Julia, this is all lovely, but how can we know what we should buy? We don't have this time to dive deep into the details. So I would recommend you to go to the purchase recommendations that you have already in your AWS billing console. With purchase recommendations, you can actually see what recommendations AWS give you based on your recent usage pattern. So you can see what kind of savings plan we recommend you to consider, what kind of reserved instances we recommended you to consider. And the purchase experience is very simple. It actually gives you the advice, it shows you the monthly savings that you'll obtain, and you can customize, like, okay, if I would go 1 year, what's the discount? If I would go 3 years, what's the discount? You can play with payment options and then make up your choice. Just with one click. And you can track your investments. So after purchasing savings plan or RISE, AWS Cost Management Console provides you with out-of-the-box reports, so you can track coverage, utilization, and see actual savings that you've achieved by that. So quite simple, easy to proceed. Another important part is actually ensure that your infrastructure doesn't have any idle instances, that instances are provisioned correctly. And sometimes, really, for dynamic environments, it becomes hard to understand what kind of resources are there and set up this entire governance over the infrastructure. So you can leverage, for the basic things, resource optimization recommendations. It will help you identify the idle instances. It can help you identify instances that are underutilized and consider them for termination. This is the resource that can help you make the cleanup for your current infrastructure. And again, you can receive all the resources of how to start this journey after we finish. Last important topic is the cost optimization mindset, because let's come back first to the pillars that we started with. Right-sizing your resources. This is where cost management can help you. Increasing elasticity. These are changes in your architecture to consider using spot instances, to consider using autoscaling, a big technical topic that we might probably cover in the next webinar. Then number 3, pick the right pricing model. We talked about that, of what kind of pricing model, savings plans, or reserved instances can help you here. Optimize storage by choosing the newest storage type, and measure, monitor, and improve. So we spoke how AWS with Cost Explorer and budgets can help you measure, monitor, and improve your current cost consumption. But what is really, really important here is first to understand not the complexity, but understand what kind of resources are here to help you. Dive deep a little bit on this if you would like to get more proficient, or if you would like your team to become more proficient with cloud financial management. And plan how you would set up a journey, because cost optimization, the really effective one, is requiring a shift in mentality. It should not be a one-time exercise once you're cleaning up the budgets and decide, okay, this cost center I want to be decreased. If you want to see the real power of the cloud, cost optimization should become a complete process that all your teams should follow, or that you should set up a governance within the organization, that each and every team using Amazon is aware of how to pick up the most important model, that you have a pricing model, that you have a complete visibility over your resources, that you can set up the necessary governance level, to understand the budgets, to understand the technology expectations of each particular team. So this is really a process, a circled one that requires an effort and the time, because it will not just include, looking over the budgets and buying the savings plan. It will also include a lot of architectural understanding and effort of setting up this right sizing, trying different instance types to define what is the most efficient for your business. Managing containers is also a big topic, and unfortunately native AWS tools do not support here, but this is where FinOps beauty, I think, is coming into the picture. So without this mindset, it's quite hard to become efficient, really efficient in a cloud cost optimization journey. And if you have ever faced one of these questions, this is the situation once we really recommend you to consider a partner for cloud financial management. So if you don't see a clear owner of cloud financial management in your organization, if you have enough spare engineering resources so they can establish this cadence and follow it up constantly, if you are aware how you should represent the data for your business owners, how you will achieve cost optimization within complex environments in your SaaS business, especially when those are Kubernetes related, container related, then are your internal AWS users having the same level of competency to support this beautiful idea of cloud financial governance? Because sometimes the internal competency becomes also a blocker for this organizational change. And the very last and important question is that we all are living in a very dynamic world with a lot of changes happening, with a lot of black swan-like pandemic happening, and a lot of other tough things happening around us. So one of the questions and concerns that I have of my customers is that I'm not 100% sure that my business can allow me to commit for long term in a safe manner. So they observe a little bit of risk when committing long term. So if you ever considered one of these questions seriously for yourself, this is where we recommend to think of a partner seriously, and think of a partner like FinOps, because they are really doing amazing things on AWS journey for AWS customers, and in particular with SaaS business. Now I'm passing over to FinOps team. Thank you so much for attention, and we are very open to the questions that might come up. Satish, over to you.
Thanks, Julia, for nice covering that stuff. So I think Julia has provided you the details as to what are the things which AWS offers and how you can do. But I think this last slide, which kind of she positioned, is that you need to really look into the answers of that questions, and are you as an organization ready for that kind of journey? So let me just start with the quick thing about FinOps. So FinOps, we are a company which is working with AWS since long, multiple partnerships, and we are all on our AWS, and that can be recognized by the various leadership, whether it's a G2, whether it's a FinOps, whether it's a marquee clients, why they love the FinOps as a solution. Before getting into the details about the FinOps, I just wanted to kind of touch upon the SaaS companies. I think SaaS companies is something which is the phenomena maybe last 8 to 10 years. And if you look into the key tenets of the SaaS companies, I think the people which kind of comes first, the founding team, the core team, which makes the product, which kind of decide the roadmap, decide the journey. That's a very, very first thing. The second thing is the differentiation, because unlike the traditional software SaaS companies, I think they need to really come out with a clear-cut differentiation as to how they will be different from their peers, and which could be anything, the way they are offering their solution, the pricing model, the geography, the experience. It's a multiple things. Another important aspect as far as the SaaS companies, they need to innovate continuously, because of the fact that every now and then you will see there is a competition which is coming with new features, new stuff. Gone are the days where you develop some software and you are using that for next 3 years, 5 years. It's not that way. I think we can see it's an era of chat GPT where things are coming quite fast. So unless you have the innovation, it is very, very important to remain competitive. One of the important other factors why basically people, customers love SaaS is the flexibility and the scalability. So for example, my organization is today only 10 people and I require 10 license. Tomorrow it becomes 1,000. I can still use that same thing, and I can just add on my license. I don't need to worry too much on that stuff. So that's the flexibility, scalability which SaaS companies come up with. While all this is great, one of the important factor which customer look for the SaaS companies is the security and privacy aspect. Because earlier, when companies were going for some software applications, they were installing their applications on their premises, their data centers. So the data was remaining there. Now what's happening is because of SaaS, the things are moving across. So companies are operating from a particular region and they are providing services to the global customers. So it's very, very important that security and privacy is a key aspect. And if you look into all above aspects, I think infrastructure plays a big role. So if you see one of the reasons why SaaS could become so scalable, or why we are seeing so much innovation, so much basically, I would say the modernization, I think it's the infrastructure, which is nothing but the cloud. So that plays a very, very critical role because it will differentiate how response time for your application, how fast your application is available if there are any issues, how is the overall user experience, how you are able to basically develop and release the new features. So we've seen that these are the software tenets for the SaaS companies. So if you look at infrastructure is one of the key important aspects. And if it is not controlled, it can affect the bottom line of SaaS companies. It can affect the customer experience. It can affect the customer satisfaction index, or it can affect the way you are standing with your competition. So to control this, especially if you look into the infrastructure, how you can control the cost. So if we drill down, when you start a SaaS company, SaaS product, there are basically, it's a small team. You basically spun up few instances, start your software SaaS journey into the cloud. As day by day, your number of customers start growing, there is a stage comes essentially, which becomes your cost is becoming uncontrolled. And if you try to analyze the reasons for that, the first and foremost is you are lacking that cost monitoring, governance, or maybe the controls. Typically, there is a mindset, because SaaS founders, it's a small team, there is a mindset that I can do everything my own. I can just jump into AWS console and do that. But it's not practically possible, because getting the single pane of glass or getting that quick monitoring may not possible at all the time. When you are basically moving your SaaS application to cloud, many times it happens that you are basically lifting whatever that current you are having and moving to the cloud, which is kind of leading to the inefficient architecture, because you are not leveraging the cloud-based practices. For example, well-architected framework. So it's very, very important you leverage that. When you decide to move to the cloud, I think Julia talked about the different types of instances, how it is important. So if you go into the AWS, there are various families of the resources which you can choose from. For example, there is a C series for compute, there is a R series, there is a M series for memory intensive workload. So based on your workload, based on the application, you require to choose that. You have chosen everything. Many times what happens is customer, when they move to the cloud, they try to replicate what they were doing on-prem. That means they forget the elasticity aspect of the cloud, which kind of helps them to use the resources when it is required, or use that useless concept. So that's a very, very essential. The next part comes is the hidden cost, like data transfer, bandwidth cost. Most of the customers struggle with that because they don't know. They suddenly see there is a bill for that, but they don't know from where it is coming. So to get that visibility and correct that, it's very, very important. Another important aspect, which is about the commitments, which can give you better price for your infrastructure. So you can go for that better pricing by going for commitments. Then the comes part is the automation, because if you're trying to do everything manually, you are not only spending more bandwidth, but you are not really efficient as well. The next part is the ownership, team, culture. I think this is very, very important. I will talk in next slide about this. And the decision making. I think you will hear from Achanu, but I think it's very, very important that when you're taking the decision, it has to be very, very fast. Because if you taking the decision, taking itself is going to take 1 or 2 months, you might have lose almost a saving for a year in that 2 months. Every one of you might have seen this iceberg of ignorance. And this is actually true for your FinOps journey as well. So to make it your FinOps participative, inclusive, it's important the whole team is engaged into this, so that you are optimizing and you are leveraging the best practices all across, so that you are able to really, really optimize your infrastructure, your cloud. So I think you have heard about what the things which is there. We talked about software keynotes of the SaaS companies, what are the challenges, why cost goes uncontrolled. But the challenge is, if you are trying to do this manually, it is going to be an issue. And if you are trying to get some solution, the challenge comes is like, okay, if I'm planning to implement some solution, I will require to pay some license fee, some recurring charges. Now, if I tell you that you get a solution which is totally free for you and which will solve you all the problems we discussed so far, yes, that's perfectly possible. So FinOps has identified that what is the customer pain point, and that's where the FinOps, the innovative price model, the innovative share save concept, it's all about that. So we are a completely free platform which you can subscribe via AWS Marketplace. And once you subscribe, what you will require to do is you set up your basically main master payer account, which is like a hardly 10 to 15 minutes job, where you run the initial setup to give FinOps AWS read-only access, so that FinOps can collect the metadata, billing data, and start providing you the visibility. So for example, business context. This is something very, very important to understand where actually your cloud spend, where the dollar amount is going within your basically infrastructure. So the business context helps you to allocate the cost based on your own rules, your own mechanism. So you can literally analyze and put this data the way you want. And the best part is, once you do it, you can see this on an ongoing basis for a basically past history, or if you want to do further analysis. For example, I want to do analysis on a particular account or maybe I want to really look into what is my EC2 train look like, what is my RDS train look like. Everything is right there. So that's the first part, which is the getting the visibility. The second part, I think saving. I think everyone wants to get that automated savings. You have seen that commitment is something which can provide you better price. But the challenge, if you trying to do this manually, it is a challenge because you don't know which instance type, which region, which family, what term, what payment. It's not that easy unless you are really expert. You know your workload, how is it going to behave for next 1 year. So FinOps provides that completely automated experience so that you can actually enable the FinOps and FinOps AI engine take care of this part in a completely automated way. So it's a fairly straightforward, and this is something which you can do literally in the first call and start saving the money on your on-demand resources. So that's the first thing, which is the getting a better price for your infrastructure. The second important aspect is how you can leverage the elasticity of the cloud. FinOps will provide a complete detailed insights and mechanism so that you can orchestrate your resources, so you can start, stop when it is not required. For example, weekends, for example, off hours, or your development, test, QA workloads, which you want to shut down when it is not used. FinOps can provide you complete insights and the complete mechanism. With a 1 or 2 clicks, you set it and it will be on autopilot after that. And it can really save you very good amount of percentage, almost 70%. So that's a really great savings. The third thing is, I think containers. I know customers are struggling with optimizing their basically legacy autoscaler groups, or maybe the EKS workloads. We have got this first in market, which we call it as a NKS, which is nothing but a FinOps carpenter-driven solution. And what it does is it is sitting on top of your existing EKS carpenters things and provide you completely automated way where it will real-time look into the savings plan, RIs, spot market, and provide you the best saving possible. And the best part is we are also providing you 100% reliability for your spot instances. So that's the way you can start with FinOps, starting with visibility and start with automated savings. And then there are so many other things which you can leverage. Our charging model is what we save. So based on what we save, the saving part gets divided between a customer and FinOps. That's why we call it as a FinOps share save, which is nothing but sharing the savings. So let me now hand over to Atanu so that he can take you through his experience about his company. Over to you, Atanu.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. So I've joined this company True Coverage of, I think, a few months back, like 3 months. And one of the areas I observed is being a SaaS company, we have a lot of expense on the Amazon cloud, right? And in fact, the last 6 months, what I saw was the expense actually went up a lot. And what we do as a business is essentially we are like a marketplace for insurance in the United States. And we are mainly into the Obamacare and the Medicare plan selling, right, as a brokerage. So it's a pretty large footprint on the cloud. And what happens is also during the open enrollment, which is around the October-November timeframe, which runs for about 3-4 months, the overall the footprint that happens on our cloud infrastructure goes up by at least 4 to 5 times. What it means is also that the cloud expenses also goes up, right? And architecturally, I won't say the product is a cloud first at this point. So we have certain architectural deficiencies as well, which also causes a more consumption on the cloud, right? Because we are not really fully containerized either. Our services are using a lot of resources, right? That could have been optimized. So if you look at this slide, right? So it's basically helps you understand the type of business we are in. And we basically work with all the insurance providers in the US, and essentially we're selling through the healthcare.gov, marketplace, right? Using that. So we have a, complete API tie-up with that, and the SaaS platform helps in the agents to sell insurance. So let's go to the next slide. Yeah, so I'll just talk about the use case and the challenges we had, right? So one of the main challenge has been the continuous increase in the cloud cost month on month, with almost no control. What I saw when I joined the company, that they were not able to reduce the cloud cost, and that was during the normal period, right? And now let's say starting October, it's just going to fly up more. So the first thing I looked at is that do we have any cloud optimization plans such as, right? And what I saw is that there wasn't anything concrete, right? People were monitoring the cost, but there wasn't any clear plan as such, right? They were mostly looking at the Amazon console or the Cloud Explorer and trying to look at it, but I don't think the team was well versed with the various, available techniques which are there, like reserved instance, for example, or savings plans. And we do have an Amazon, tie-up because of our large account. So then because I had previous experience in terms of, evaluating various cloud optimization softwares like FinOps, right? So this is one that came to my mind, and we thought, okay, let's get started. So we probably got started almost immediately. And the first activity was to, look at right sizing, look at, the share save plan, right? And get certain automation done. Yes, we could start seeing some improvements almost in a week, I would say. And some of the other challenges are also going forward. We're going to add other cloud accounts like Amazon, Azure Cloud, for example, right? And also we have various departments that are using the cloud infrastructure at this point, right? So in future, we also want to look at the chargeback and how we can distribute the cost, right, across various departments. So let's go to the next slide. Yeah, so some of the advantages, besides what Satish has spoken already, I'd like to highlight is that, yes, there are many such companies like FinOps in the market now. Now, one of the FinOps advantage I would say is the intuitive dashboard, right, which you can see in terms on a daily basis. As the real time, it basically gives you a understanding of various optimization targets that you can look at. You can also do the Waffer reports, which is basically helps you to get the Amazon architecture recommendation right. You can create some custom dashboards as well, right? So, for example, in our case, you might want to create a custom dashboard for your usage, including custom alerts, for example. You can also some of the features like save, that is an automated one. So that can immediately get you some saving without understanding much about how to do it otherwise. The reports can help you understand which are the other opportunities you can look at, where actually the most of the cost is going on. Then you can, it also integrates with the Jira Cloud, for example. So let's say, you want to you found a particular issue, you want to log a ticket and keep track of it. Because let's say in our case, we have a cloud infrastructure team of about, I think, 5 people. And we might want to assign it to different people working from different regions, right? So that's something which can be done. Once you enable it for multi-cloud setup, which we are going to do it, then you have the ability to compare, see both in the dashboard like Amazon and Azure Cloud, right? So that's another advantage. Besides, with the share save is a good one, right? Where you can actually, it does it very much automated. And the way it works is like it basically collects data, and the older it gets, right, it has more understanding of your infrastructure, right? And you might actually get better saving. So initially, when you start, you may not immediately get like a huge saving. You'll start getting some saving, but as after 6 to 8 weeks is when the data collected by the sales rep is good enough for running the automation, I would say. Besides, this also gives you, certain recommendation that you can ignore or accept, right? So that's, that. So basically, it's a pretty good product in sense, and it doesn't take much of learning curve either. You can actually get used to it pretty easy. So that's all I had to cover. Thank you.
Thanks, Satanu, for your coverage. Yeah, I think so that kind of brings to the end of our webinar. Would be happy to take any questions if anyone has, so that we can go over that. You can use the chat option if you want to ask any questions. And I think just wanted to also inform that FinOps is available into the AWS marketplace, and you can just to install it, to try it out. There is no fee, there is nothing as such. So okay, I see a question. How do you make sure that automated remediation doesn't affect? So I think if you look into the platform, so as far as the share sale goes, which is like getting a better price for your on-demand resources, so FinOps is not basically changing any instance type or any settings of any of your workload when you are doing the risk-free commitment. It is purely the financial aspect which FinOps gets a better rate for your infrastructure. So there is no absolutely challenge in that part. As far as the other recommendations, for example, the N-switch or maybe the NKS, FinOps is providing you the complete recommendations, insights, and then it's up to you to decide as to whether you want to go ahead with that or not. So it's like FinOps is doing all the groundwork, and you just need to decide yes, no kind of thing. And then because you know workload you're better, you can just decide that, and then FinOps can do the further, whether it's automated remediations or other stuff. We are not supporting the Azure share save at this moment. I think the market is not that matured as on the Azure side, so we are supporting the AWS only at this moment. Any other questions? Okay, so I think one of the important thing which we need to look into is when we are doing a cost optimization, we need to look into the holistic way. So for example, we have seen that customers running a workload of, let's say, maybe their monthly spend is 100K. So if you look into the combination of EC2, RDS, and then the other things, which is the Fargate or maybe the containers, EKS, and all that. So I think the way FinOps does the thing is it will identify the workload, what is best suited for that particular workload, and based on that it will buy the combination of reserve instance and saving plan. So the whole objective is, given the fact that, so there is two ways to look into this. For example, just to give the anomal basically example, let's say I have $1,000 workload, and because of the commitments and automation, we are able to save you, let's say, $400. That's the one way of looking at it. Second way is I'm trying to cover everything, but then I'm again increasing the risk and maybe not able to provide the saving which comparable to that $400. So it's a combination of the things which so FinOps AI engine will constantly look into the workload and see where is the best possible saving it can achieve, and that way it will cover that workload. Because at the end of the day, I think it's important, it's not the important is not the percentage, it's important is the how much is the dollar amount at the end of the day. And I think over the long term, because what happens is many times there is a fancy percentage numbers, customer feel that okay, I'm going to get 60%, I'm going to get 40%, 70%. That's good, but what happens is you have to look that savings once you maybe after 3 months, after 6 months, after 1 year, because that's the actual testimony of the ROI. Because 1 month, 15 days numbers is not going to really help. I think I would say as far as the benchmark, there is nothing benchmark because as long as you have the I would say workload which is in AWS, and cost is becoming a challenge, which typically starts as your workloads start approaching minimum 10,000 or above. You can definitely leverage FinOps to automate stuff. So that's why I would say benchmark could be around 10,000 or above monthly. That's where uh, because you are also interested to get the reasonable savings as well as do the things. And typically we have seen this as far as the savings, we typically see that savings can vary between 30 to 50%. So that's a really good savings. And if you combine the other aspect like N-switch and others, it can go up as well. Anybody has any other questions? Issue ongoing savings over a first month savings. And also ensures on ongoing savings over a first month savings. So I think I would answer this way that there is a lead time, like an ops engine needs to learn about your workload. So as soon as you enable the ANOps automation, what will happen is it will start covering your workload, and you will start realizing the savings. And within the ANOps, there is a dashboard which can tell you as to what is the savings you are achieving on a day-to-day basis. You will get a consolidated number on over a last 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, or a specific date range. So you can literally see all the details within the FinOps platform. So at any given point of time, if you want to understand how you are deriving the savings from the different offering, yes, you can do that. Okay, I think Tejas has the question about EC2, which is always available, no downtime. Yeah, so essentially one is definitely the commitment. So I think the NOps risk-free commitment can help in that, because it can help you to get a better price, because if your workload requires that instances on an ongoing basis, it can help you to cover that infrastructure with a better price and provide automated savings. While I think your message states that there is no downtime, but once you start looking at the metrics, there could be possibility that that particular 1 hour, 2 hour, where you may not require that much instances or something, the insights may able to provide you further looks as well. Any other questions? Any other? Okay, I think we are top of the hour now. So I think the team will basically, okay, I think I can see a last questions. How does saving plan or customer? Julia, you want to take that?
Yep, I can answer. Savings plans are actually covering all types of compute on AWS, including serverless like Lambda and Fargate. So once you commit, because it's measured in $1 per hour, this is why you, in the end of the day, receive a better pricing rate on both serverless Lambda and Fargate solutions, and you see it as a deduction from your overall invoice. Yeah, if I answered your question. If not, Raj, my contacts are there in the presentation, so we can dive deep a little bit in separate call.
Okay, cool. Thanks all for making for this webinar. Thanks Julia, thanks Atanu for being a great host. And hopefully we look forward to the similar stuff in the near future.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks. I'm ending the webinar now.
Thanks for organizing. Have a good day. Take care.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.